What's up, guys? Adam of AS Trains here. Tonight I thought I'd do a quick update on my Bachmann DCC 4449, and I thought I'd ask you guys a question in regards to something that you guys might have a hint of already. Alright, so I'm going to start with the 4449 because that is really the focal point of this video. You guys have probably noticed that I have not really posted any videos on the 4449, and that's because shortly after the last running video I did of 4449, it encountered a issue, and that issue was of one of the DCC plugs breaking on me. That is a classic. I've heard through the grapevine that is a classic problem some Bachmann owners and operators will have with these DCC engines. Bachmann has, and I must say I agree with their frustration. The Bachmann DCC plugs, though they are good in a sense, they're at the same time they're probably one of the worst designs ever, because there's no good way of pulling the plugs out without pulling them by the plugs. Now some have actually found a way to get them out using a flathead screwdriver, and that's actually how I'm taking both of these off, because these are both DCC. But for the moment, they have dummy plugs installed. I've yet to get a new. On a side note, I got to get a new decoder for this one. The old lens decoder is not exactly functioning correctly. It's an older Spectrum, because obviously these 280s are no longer part of the Spectrum line. They're now part of Bachmann standard line, as with the 4449 or the GS4s, but they weren't part of the Spectrum line anyway. But both of these are running on their standard dummy plugs, just as a side note. But I encountered a problem with this engine. The 4-pin DCC plug snapped on me shortly after I did the last running video with this engine. And so for a good long while, the GS4 stood unoperable. I would have gotten it fixed a lot faster than I did. However, it was a combination of not having the money and also talking to people and seeing if anybody had any of these 4-pin plugs in their parts bin. And if you're wondering who I was asking people on Facebook, because I have a Facebook. And a friend of mine up in Alabama, he told me he had both a 2-pin and a 4-pin that, to his knowledge, they were good to use. So I asked him, how much do you want from me? He said, well, considering they're just plugs, I'll just let you have them. I mean, they're not going to do me any good. I don't use this particular type of plug. If I want to convert something to DCC, I get a different type of plug. So he mailed them down to me. The 2-pin plug, the 2-pin is, I actually had to use that spare one because, and I'll tell you here in a little shortly. He gave me the new 2-pin plug, and I also got the 4-pin plug, which, of course, the 4-pin plug being the one I was after. Well, when I installed that 4-pin plug, he said there was actually a reason why he had to take that one out, but he could not remember why. So he didn't cheat me, he just could not remember why he had that one in just his parts bin. Well, I found out why. That particular 4-pin he sent me, it was defected. It was slightly warped. Instead of being in the shape of a rectangle, it was actually slanted. The shape of it was slanted. So it could not really plug itself into the female end on the locomotive. So I told him what happened, and he kept apologizing because he didn't mean to send me a defective plug, which it was not his fault. He didn't know it was defect. He could not remember why he took it out. He forgot that it was actually a defected one, but we all learn a lesson. And so I took that spare one out. It's still in my parts bin. I can still use the wires, and I keep it as a reference anyway. And and ironically, the 2-pin plug gave out that when I was uninstalling that spare 4-pin. So once again, for about almost a month, this engine sat with no DCC plugs. This thing was not even having a chance to even run because it had no plugs. So I had the 2-pin. I just needed to get a 4-pin because then I was gonna just install those two new ones at the same time. So once again, I waited. I kept asking people, do you have this particular plug? And if you do, how much do you want for it? Nobody had any. So finally came to a point where I have enough money in my wallet. I bit the bullet and said, I'm not going to stop waiting. I'm just going to buy one straight from Bachmann, because they had them in stock, so I figured I'd just buy one. So that's what I did. About a week later, it arrived. I installed it along with the 2-pin, and here we are today. this thing is now running like a Swiss watch again. And now that covers the update on the GS4. I'm now gonna ask you guys something in regards to this engine. Well, it's actually in regards to both engines, but now you're going to be wondering, what is it that I want to ask you guys that has regards to this to the 761 Fireball. Alright, so I've gotten a lot of good feedback about my Operation Doubleheader video, both here on YouTube and on Facebook. And so, since I got the GS4 running again, and as I mentioned, both of these are Bachmann, would y'all like to see a doubleheader video featuring the 761 and 4449? So if you really like this video, if you want to, and if you want to, you can comment down in the description if you'd like. Will this be a freight run, or will this be a passenger run? Well, I'm not really sure myself. This is most likely going to be a freight run, because if I was to go with, I don't have any mixed passenger cars. All I have is my daylights and also the set that I shall be unveiling to you guys fairly soon. But they're all in Southern Pacific, and that would leave this engine. This would make this engine be the oddball of it. So I'm probably going to go with a freight run, because then, as you know, freight cars, I could have many different roads of freight cars, and it would be a neutralizer to these two locomotives. It wouldn't matter. So, once again, if you want to see a doubleheader video featuring the 761 Fireball and Daylight 4449, like this video, comment in the description if you want to. I'm sure you guys would want to, but of course there's probably going to be someone who says they don't want it. So anyways, that's the update, and that's the question I wanted to ask you guys. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Stay tuned for more in the future. I'm Adam Swindell, and I'll see you next time. Rate, comment, and if you want to, subscribe.